6 months. All right, so I will now open the Estacada City Council workshop. And we have CMGC contract presentation by Slayton Contractors, Inc.
Can I just open with just a few comments here?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, and I'll do just a quick introduction. Did you want to say anything too? No, okay. All right, so I just wanted to, this has been on my mind all weekend because this is a big night. This is by far the biggest project the city will probably see in several decades. And so I just appreciate all of the collaboration that's gone into the project so far and having the support of the council through this years-long process. You have been tracking with us and keeping up on all the information, and we've, it's been a lot over the years. And also staff has worked very hard every step of the way, and we realize that the council doesn't get to be involved in all of the day-to-day details. And so we strive to keep you informed and earn the trust that we need from you to be able to ask for your approval, because we'll work hard. We'll make sure we're doing the best we can. We put all our heads together. We following the rules, there's all this stuff that we're working on day to day. And then you guys have to pop in and get, just information that we give you or information that you research on your own. And so we just really appreciate the involvement that you have and the trust that you give us, that because we need to come to you to make this go forward. So, specifically, just a few thank yous. I wanted to thank Councilor McElroy and Planning Commission Chair Wheeler for being part of the CMGC Proposal Review Committee. And then I wanted to also thank Chris Lewis and Don DeRosia and Sean Spargo from Kennedy Jenks and their teams for working on the design and engineering, and also Brooke, Ryan, and Kevin, who are plant operators, and they've visited other wastewater facilities and they've dug into what's the best way to do this. And everybody's getting very excited. So I just appreciate all of that. I want to thank Sadie Main for working on the financial piece of this. She does the budgeting, the tracking, the reporting. It's a lot to do on a project of this size. And then most of all, thank you to Elena Turpin for her many hours of working on grants, which grants and forgivable loans right now are 6.4 million. So she's doing fantastic. She works on the loan app, and still will on the loan application and a bazillion details. She reads for me. She did the contract review and revision and worked with Kennedy Jenks, worked with Slayton to get this huge contract pulled together and coordinated, and basically keeps us all on track. So thank you, Elena. And I just really appreciate the team, and Rob Beckloff, if I say your name right, Beckloff is going to be potentially the newest member of our team. And so we just want you to meet him tonight. He's going to do a little presentation and talk about Slayton. I feel very fortunate that Slayton is excited about our project and wants to do this, because this is what they do. And it gives me a lot of confidence to know that. So I'll just let you take it from here. But I just wanted to say thank you to everybody, because this is kind of going to be a monumental night. We're moving this forward. Robert, go ahead. And I think you have a microphone there.
Can you hear me? Oops. I have a slideshow, and I have a little more introduction on one of the slides. Okay, thank you for having me. Next slide. So topics today, I'm going to do a little introduction of myself, Slayton history and qualifications, a little bit about the CMGC process and how we work with a team with both the engineer and Elena and Melanie to help bring you a successful project, a little bit about new plant equipment and the timeline. So I sprinkled the plant equipment throughout the slides to keep it interesting. Please, I do a lot of treatment plants. If something doesn't make sense or if you have a question, please ask. So one of the first things is a piece of equipment right here. This is a fine screen. So this cleans everything as it comes into the plant. All the garbage people flush, this is what pulls it out. It pulls it out automatically and puts it into a dumpster. So you will have 3 of these screens for backup and for maintenance purposes. But yeah, next slide. There's a little org chart here with Melanie, Elena, and Chris at the top, the Kennedy Jenks team, and then the Slayton team. So Jeff Walls, our project executive, he's been with Slayton for 33 years. and has done a ton of alternative delivery, and he's instrumental in helping both KJ, the city, and myself. Senior project manager with Sladen, I have a slide coming up. Ben, project manager, he'll be under me. He'll do all the day-to-day stuff and I'll just help guide him. And then Ed Petrock is our superintendent. He's a 33-year Sladen employee and he's worked on treatment plants all over Oregon and Washington. He's fantastic. And he's already bonded with Chris because they both have daughters that are really into horses. Next slide. So a little bit about me. I've been in water and wastewater. I've been doing them for 20 years all over Washington and Oregon, from the Canadian border down to Ashland. So all over on the east side. I've done 11 alternative delivery projects, which are CMGC, which is what you're doing, where you have the contract with both the engineer and ourselves. There's also Progressive Design Build, which operates similarly, but the engineer works for me. So I participated in 11 of those types of projects, 10 projects with Kennedy Jenks. 3 with Sean, who's supposed to be here soon. And then I've done 3 Kubota membrane plants. I worked on La Centers. I was the PM on Dundee, which I think you guys tour. You have some of the operators tour. So I was the project manager that built that plant. So right here, I have a picture of a membrane basin, and you can see those are the cartridges at the bottom that the membrane's set on. And I'll have another picture that you'll see the cartridges being set and the plumbing going, but that's the heart of your new plant, the Kubota membranes. Next slide. And here you can see a photo with the membranes still in their packaging. You don't unpackage them till the last minute to help protect them, but you set them and then you can see there's PVC piping. So you connect all the piping and then you remove the packaging right at the last minute just to protect them. So a little bit about Sladen. As of December of this year, Sladen will be in a business continually for 40 years. Sladen is a subsidiary of MWH Constructors, and we are both owned by Obayashi Corporation. They mostly leave us alone to operate, but we have those companies in the background, so I thought you should know. We only do water and wastewater and the occasional dam/fish passage project. Probably 90% of what we do is water and wastewater. And we don't like pipelines too much. We like to do the implant work because there's fewer public to deal with. 85% of our yearly volume is the alternative delivery style. We like the collaborative style that it brings to. We like to get to work with the engineer and the city and help make them make good decisions up front to avoid rework and other things at the end of the project. Sladen's worked on 145 treatment plants, 33 of which were alternative delivery, and we've done 11 membrane plants. Next slide. On the left, you can see kind of a map of where our alternative delivery treatment plants have been in Oregon. And then, as you can see, they're all sprinkled around here pretty much. The ones on the right in green are over in Bend, and the bottom green one is Klamath Falls. We're doing a big upgrade to their wastewater plant right now. Here you can see this kind of shows you what your membrane basin will look like. The one on the bottom is will be populated with the membranes, and then the other plants will do inoxic and oxic treatment, air or no air, just all part of the process. But that's what your basins all look like when they're empty. Next slide. Okay, like I said, teamwork is what we like to do. So this is kind of the highlights of what CMGC helps provide. At 30, 60, 90, we'll provide constructability reviews. We did one here on the 8th. We sat here, we spent a couple hours going through the plans, came up with ideas. I mean, it's a requirement of the funding, but we do it on projects even where it's not required to fund. And it's something now that we're participating, we'll do on a weekly basis. You know, we'll start joining the meetings. And if we see something that, you know, comes up, we'll speak up and say, hey, what if we do it a little bit this way? We love it when the engineer brings us a napkin sketch because it means that they didn't spend the time to draw it and put it through CAD. And we price out the napkin sketch before it becomes part of the design, help the city save money. Cost estimates, we'll provide cost estimates. We'll start to expedite the project by doing early work amendments. The first one is going to be the electrical gear and the membrane equipment. That's some of the longest lead equipment. So we're working with Sean right now to have his engineers finalize the design on that equipment so we can procure it. We'll go out to bid. It'll be, public procurement, but we'll receive bids, but then that can be going through submittals and all the long lead times for fabrication while we're designing other aspects and moving forward. That's one of the benefits of alternative delivery, because if you do a hard bid, you have to wait and bid everything at once. And right now, the MCCs are probably 80 weeks. So we'll pick up all that time. We'll help with schedule. We're putting together a schedule now that we're kind of on board. I hope you vote for us. We'll help with permit support. There'll be questions that the permitting agencies will have of the city and Sean. So we'll be there to help support with those questions as far as constructability and what we can and can't do realistically. Operations focused, Chris will be a big concern of ours to make sure him and the operators get what they need and it's something they can use and maintain, and that it's, cost effective to maintain it. Early construction planning will start now, figuring out how to start up the plant so that we're all ready when we get to the end and we don't, miss something that could be important. And then long lead equipment procurement. Like I said, we're going to do an EWA. We'll go out to bid here in a few weeks on the early equipment to help expedite the progress. Some of the early equipment we will procure right here. You can see the blue and white boxes are the blowers. Those will be part of the membrane package, and they'll provide the air to the treatment. Next slide. I just wanted to talk for a second about Sun River. I don't know if you guys visited Sun River, but it's a membrane plant that Sladen just finished last year. Had a lot of the similar aspects. It had a membrane. It was a membrane plant. Kubota had a new headworks, a biofilter, which that's what that is. Piping. You put piping underneath the biofilter. You put holes in it every foot approximately. The air comes out and it goes through a biomedia, cleans it naturally. Organisms grow on the media and eat the odor. We did a sludge storage, and then Sun River liked us so much, we're doing a second project with them. We're just starting right now to do solids equipment. Next. This one's kind of project timelines. Hopefully you guys get this so you can see it.
Send
But-
it out.
Huh?
We'll send it out to the council.
They'll send it out to you so you have the schedule if you have questions, but the upper part is the design milestones. So KJ is working on their 60% design, and then 90 and 100. All throughout that, we'll do constructability reviews. We'll help prioritize equipment based on the equipment that KJ thinks is best for the project. We'll reach out to vendors, see when we have to go out to bid on that to make sure it doesn't slow down the project by waiting for equipment. That's part of our pre-con services. And then we anticipate starting in the fall with site work and moving into concrete while the equipment's being procured. And I think that's all of my presentation. Nobody interrupted me with questions.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Got a list. I'll do them one at a time. Just what items caused delays for availability on the last few projects that you guys did with similar style design?
Mostly the MCCs, the motor control centers.
Got it.
In the last year or two, the lead times for MCCs and VFDs have gone up and down. It was up into the hundreds of weeks after submittal approval to get it. And then it dipped down into about 55 weeks. And now it's up to about 80, 84 weeks we're seeing. So with the volatility in that market, it's really important to get that stuff coming.
We're procuring those now. We're working on procuring those.
We're working on that now. Kenny Jinx is putting together all the specifications and drawings so we can bid those out in a few weeks after we have a meeting with the funding agency.
The VFD, that's a controller unit?
That controls the pumps and the fans and the speed to help optimize the process. And it also helps you save money by not, over speeding things.
Thank you.
Yeah, my question was quite similar. Is there anything else that could delay the process of construction? So permits or something? And if so, is there a way that we could, get ahead of it? There was concern a while back that if there's delay in the project, it could cost the city more money because it's inflation and parts and all
Oh,
that
we
good
agree.
stuff. So, yeah.
So the city has already done really good at looking at the building permits. And I think we're going to have a meeting soon with the the permitting group that you guys use to help make sure we're on board with getting them the package they need and how they need it to facilitate review so we can start building. KJ's already done really well at starting the conversation for the in-water work. That's some of the toughest permits to get because you have to go through the Army Corps and you have to worry about the fish a lot, which are important. So there's some meetings coming up with that. And then it sounds like the city has a really good relationship with PGE. There's a meeting coming up with them to work on easements and stuff. So they're on top of it, but now we'll be here to help them with constructability questions. Those are some of the hard permitting issues.
Other questions?
I have more, but I'll wait.
Go ahead.
You've touched on some of the issues that would, I think that would hit a project that's in general. What about anything specific to our location here in Estacada?
Well, now we see labor is a big thing. You know, everybody's trying to hire people. Thankfully, we have a project team that's coming available. We're planning to send here. That's one of the nice things about going alternative delivery versus hard bid. With the hard bid jobs, you know, you have to come up with a team right away. With an alternative delivery job, you know, you can plan, you know, we know that construction's in 6 months, so you can plan around it. So labor has been a big thing locally and nationally, but that's a big thing locally. That's one of the big things. And then, yeah, good planning to get equipment.
Yeah, if it saves us some money, we'll just hire the council. We'll all work for you.
How you guys at climbing forums?
For the scope of work that's getting done for the in-water permit, is that timeline based? Is there an amount of work that needs to happen before that work occurs? Or if we have a window to get the in-water work done, is it just getting the pipe into the middle of the, can't remember what it's called, but where it stirs up in the
Into
river?
the water channel. So there will be a pipe. The exact design will be determined after Kenny Jinks and ourselves finalize with the Army Corps. And we have a fish window. We won't make it for this summer, so we will plan to do it next summer.
Gotcha.
It'll likely be that we will just have an exposed pipe and then we'll have to have saddles to weight it down, and we do that in a controlled fashion.
And then just tie into it later.
And
When
then,
when
yeah,
we're ready, just tie it in.
pick up the hill and we'll tie into it there.
Most of the treatment plant might be constructed before we get to the alcohol.
Yeah, my concern was just if it was dependent on getting into the water was dependent on work happening before that. And then we miss the window like we did for the Hillway extension, and then we get pushed back a year. So I just want to make sure that when we get that permit, that we're able to execute that work during the window when we're allowed to do it, even if the other work before it isn't completed. That's,
No, that shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah.
It should be, it's likely to be HDPE, and the couplers on that are pretty easy, so we can run from both ways.
great.
Okay.
So I don't know if this is a question so much for you or for city staff. Is the demo of the old plant and the repurposing of that part of the property, is that part of the project, or is that going to be an additional project after the fact?
Demoing is part of the project, not the repurposing.
Okay, so we're going to be spending even more money after the fact to turn that old plant into usable space.
It'll be pretty much bare.
Yeah, so we'll have excess dirt and stuff, so we'll stockpile some of it so we can fill tanks and what have you, and we'll pop holes in the bottom so it'll drain, so.
It'll be a blank canvas, pretty much.
Will that fill be structurally compacted when it goes in there, or we're gonna have a bunch of fluff in there when we go to rework it, or put something there? If we wanted to put a building there, it's gonna be structural fill that's going there and getting rolled out.
We haven't really talked about it. I guess we'll have to, as we proceed through design, see what's needed. Obviously, you don't want to spend money on structural fill where you don't need it, so.
Yeah.
If there's a tentative design, we could plan that way. But we haven't really gotten into those details yet. At least I haven't.
I have such a good council. They ask all the good questions. So
No worries.
I don't have anything, so we'll.
I
Go
got
ahead.
it, yeah. Do we know when we'll have confirmation of the project cost to validate what we were estimating the budget for the project? At what point will we be close enough at the 90% check-in to know?
Well, so we're expecting 60% drawings in 5 or 6 weeks. And we're going through the VE stuff now. So we're creating a VE log, and off those drawings, we'll create a price, and it should be pretty close. That's one of the reasons, people like to hire us. We have a pretty good, track record of, the first time we estimated and keeping it pretty much right there.
How much variance do you see from when your first validation and the end result on your last 5 projects, for instance? Is there a normal average, like 5% off or
Or
8% off? or 2%?
Percent. And we've had pretty good luck with, within a percent
Oh, that's great.
up or down.
Good.
Well, and usually there's a separate contingency for, scope creep items. We'll estimate what's known and then what we think is included, because we do this all the time. So we'll include the stuff that we know is going to get added, but there'll be a contingency line that's separate for things we don't know that may come up. So it'll be separate, but you'll know what that is. Hey, we estimated, $500,000 or $1 million or whatever it is. It'll be a separate line.
I just got one more. Nobody's got
Yeah, go
anything.
ahead.
What was the biggest lesson you learned on the last 2 projects of similar scope with the membrane plants that we're going to take advantage of those mistakes or lessons? Something you learned from the last couple of projects that's going to be really helpful in our project.
Yeah, so one of them, like on the Southern River plant we talked about, and I've already talked to Sean about it. The engineer kind of made a mistake in the design on the last one about how they put together the package for bidding the membrane stuff and about some assumptions they made. So I've talked to Sean about it. They kind of did some averaging, and we need to make sure in the specs that there's the peaks and the lows, so it'll work throughout the full range instead of trying to go up and down from the median, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I've already told Sean that's a problem, and he understands, and we'll review it as the package is put together to make sure we're all good on that. The other one, we've already talked about that we see is, too many people making decisions on the city side. Thankfully, there's only gonna be a few people involved in most of our meetings, and we'll track decisions on a decision log, like this is when this decision gets made and who made it, and here's a digital record. But that's one of the things we run into in a lot of projects is, this person over here makes a decision without this person knowing. So we've already started talking about that as a group about how we can avoid that happening, and we'll use our normal decision log that we've developed to kind of track the decisions, and we'll talk about it at our meetings. Probably not every meeting, but regularly. And we also, Sladen offers a software called ACC for all the document tracking. So we'll have that log and other logs on ACC so that the project team can go look at it at any time.
Thank you, Rob. Appreciate it.
Any more questions? All right, a follow-up, Melanie, anything?
I don't have any other questions or things to say, but thank you for being here and talking about, your experience and the firm's experience. And if you do come up with any more questions, if something, runs into your mind during the meeting, we have Rob's phone number so we can call before, before the end of the meeting. But I think he'll be back. Him and Sean will be back giving updates from time to time. So we'll keep you informed. We do have the contract and under council business. So that's ready to go unless you had, other. I feel like we've been able to answer the questions satisfactorily at this point. And yeah, you have
One more quick thing, Rob. Do you guys develop a list for procurement that can be itemized in lead time? So that we can see the long lead time items and just kind of follow along to see that things are getting checked off and we're getting everything taken care of? Or is that something that would be covered in the weekly meetings and we can just get feedback from Melanie?
Yeah, so typically we do that in 2 ways. We have already developed a preliminary procurement log. And once we get a little further in design, we'll work with Chris and Sean and the city to do that. But then based on the equipment, we'll populate the schedule, we'll reach out to the vendors and populate the schedule with the actual lead times.
Great.
And we use that to inform the city and Kennedy Jenks on this is what needs to be the next focus on design so that we can purchase this. And then use the list of, the 4 firms or whatever for the procurement log.
That's great. I'd love to get a copy of that whenever they get that updated.
I think that brings up a good point. I think we should keep a running list of, where we're at, what's, what progress that we've made. Then I can put that in the council packet as, information only or something under consent agenda, or I could just, we could keep it posted on the website too, and just kind of, so people can track along with what progress is be made. I think that will be important.
Yes, we had an initial run at it in our proposal.
Mhm.
And Chris has already, weighed in on some people he wants to add and others have. So as we, get going, we'll update it and review it as the group.
It's great.
Mhm.
Thank you, Rob.
As this project begins, is staff going to take pictures of the process, in process, so we can
Yes.
put it out there and let people see exactly
Yeah,
what's
I'm-
happening?
I'm sure that we will have, I mean, it would be nice to hold a groundbreaking
I
ceremony.
think so. I think so.
Yes, yeah. Have you
All right.
guys out there
So
with
you're
your
right.
shovels.
Golden shovels.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Rob, we thank you
Jonathan.
very much. Oh, Jonathan, go ahead.
Yeah, I got one that just came to my mind. Do you have any consideration in using local, like supporting local businesses, say like trucking and things like that to help our economy and help kind of pick up some of our local business owners and stuff like that, that it would be relative to this? Do you guys typically do that?
Yeah, we do that. I mean, every community that we work in wants that. And a lot of our people work locally. I mean, I live 30 minutes from here.
Okay.
So I want the same thing. But yeah, we Google local people and that's part of how we develop the list, and then talking to Chris and people are reaching out to us now. We'll start reaching out to us now that we have this contract knock on table. So we'll get a lot of people coming out and we'll work with the city to say, hey, is this, are these people you're interested in? They'll get like I said, the full review of our list, and then we publicly advertise it also. So if we miss somebody, it's publicly advertised on all the, DJC and stuff where people normally look also.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and we have many cities, like City of Salem has the same thing. Some cities actually require like, here's our zone, we want a certain percentage. You guys didn't do that, but we take the same philosophy because we realize everybody values that. And I did want to touch on one thing. You talked about photos. So we have a digital delivery department that helps us with construction and constructability reviews. And we haven't talked to the city about this, but usually we do drone flights as a part of that. And we help develop things that, Elena and Melanie can use to present to you guys later, or me and Sean.
Any more questions? Maybe, thank you. You did a great job.
Thank you.
We appreciate you.
Thank you for having me. If you do have any more questions, just forward them to Melanie and she can get them to me.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. That's everything I have in the workshop. So we will close the workshop. You've got about 5 minutes